Hello class, welcome back for another 4220 presentation. My name is Josh Williams, and today we're going to discuss the importance and use of databases for both Windows and Linux, as well as discuss the process of securing a database for both operating systems. So a database is where information is stored, and it is customizable per operating system. So, for example, Windows allows you to use different types of databases to store data. And Windows has a database management system and a cloud database storage. So it establishes redundancy. Databases are used to store data as well as allocate data into separate fields for applications. Additionally, databases can be used as a source for configuration files, passwords, and even encryption key storage. Databases in Windows are usually are used to not only store the data, but you can configure them to use the data as useful information for the services running in Windows. This is generally done with the Windows internal database that is in the form of a SQL server. This server is completely customizable because it uses SQL. This database is necessary to perform backups and move or shrink database files. So Windows databases are rooted to the operating system themselves. So in order to harden them, you would need to have a process running that monitors the access to certain database files. This is important because without a secure layer between the operating system and the database, there would not be a way to ensure the files or folders are not being tampered with. So a mandatory access control process is a model of access control in which the owner of the resource does not get to decide who gets access to it, but instead access is decided by a group or individual who has the authority to set access to the resource. A good tool to monitor this kind of activity in Windows is the mandatory integrity control provided by Windows as an application. This application will allow administrators to assign users to groups that can access specific portions of the OS databases as well as different portions of the database that apply to the application itself. So like Windows, the Linux database is where information or data is stored. It is also customizable and is interchangeable with other open source databases. Linux default database is a MySQL database that stores files and configurations for processes. Linux does allow for easier implementation of an open source software, so it is easier to download and use an open source relational database to securely store and retrieve data. Postgres is the most popular open source RDBSM, which is Relational Database Management System. It uses SQL language to manage its processes and allows for a more user-friendly option to database management. So again, very much like Windows, Linux databases are rooted to the operating system. So to harden them, you will have to have a process that monitors the database files, as well as you can instill a network process that secures the data um, while you are inputting it. So this is important because a secure layer between the OS, it will secure a layer between the OS and the database. This will ensure that it won't be tampered with. So as discussed before, mandatory access controls is the best way to go about securing this. And a good tool for Linux to use as a mandatory access control is the one we currently have installed, which is AppArmor. AppArmor is an open source Linux application, and as discussed in previous presentations, AppArmor is a Linux kernel security module that allows the system administrator to restrict program capabilities with per program profiles. So this would be very useful in restricting database profile access to users that necessarily don't need it. Additionally, setting passwords to unlock database files is a recommendation, as well as setting user profiles. So not only give them a password and a profile, because this will not stop attackers from capturing other sensitive data as it passes through the network or is stored. Therefore, it is important to secure all traffic with TLS or SSL. You can store the certificate behind the database and verify the host. And you can do this on Linux by adding a couple lines. The main line would be added to the my.cnf file under the MySQL D section in your Linux database. So in conclusion, Windows and Linux databases both use SQL by default to store and manage data. It is important to secure this data as it contains the configuration of your operating system, applications, and any other compromising data. In order to do this, the best way is to establish mandatory access controls and profiles to protect access to these databases, as well as a TLS SSL encryption for external uses. That way, if someone is inside, they can't get in very easily. So as always, thank you for taking the time to watch my video, and please leave any comments in the D2L section provided by Professor Green. Thank you.